Coming up on Need to Know, finding the right place to live requires a different type of checklist for individuals with developmental disabilities. And for those seeking independent housing, the barriers can be daunting. But now there's a new local model created to change that, easing the transition to independent living. That's next. Also on the show, they're called Super Kids for a reason. We'll learn about a local group teaching young people with disabilities far more than the skill of racing. Stay with us. A special Move to Include edition of Need to Know starts right now. Freedom, space, and the pleasures of life that others take for granted. That's how Luther St. Joy describes his new life, a life of independent living, that is. The 24-year-old has been working with Lifetime Assistance here in Rochester to not only become more independent, but to also become a self-advocate. I recently met the journalism student and social and digital media lover at his new home, an apartment in Brockport. It's one of 56 units created through a partnership between Lifetime Assistance and Rochester's Cornerstone Group. It offers inclusive housing for individuals with developmental disabilities and low to moderate income working families. As you'll see, Luther takes great pride in his new home, and with good reason. So, big move-in day, Luther, was June 30th.
Yes.
Okay, so how does it feel to be here almost 1 month here in your new place?
I love it. It's a lot of freedom, a lot of space. It is just awesome here.
Why don't you show us some of the amenities? Take us around so we can kind of get a little tour.
Sure, I'd be more than happy to. So we'll start off in the living room. This is the living room, as you see.
Yes.
This is couch, and it's very spacious. A lot of room for all these cool things. Before I moved here, I moved from my parents in Henrietta to a group home in Pittsford on Pinnacle Road. I eventually moved from Pinnacle Road in Pittsford to the town of Irondequoit on Heberly Road. Then I moved from Heberly Road to the city of Rochester on Culver Road. Then I moved from Culver Road to a supportive apartment in Greece, North Glen, and finally, I'm here. It's a lot of moving, but it was all worth it. Hi guys, how are you today? In my apartment, what I like to do is I like to offer my guests a cup of coffee. I like to offer my guests the best hospitality I can give them, because that is what I believe.
Do you feel as though there are things that you're able to do here now that you weren't able to do before, just because you can call this home?
Yes, and to be honest, I just remember when I was living with my parents, not having the freedom to move about. Like, in other words, like, I never had the freedom to go outside my door and go for a walk. I never had the freedom to just make decisions. Of course, that's my parents' home, but at the same time, you know, I never had the freedom to make decisions as an adult. I never had a chance to be me. Just a lot of things have happened while I was with my parents. It wasn't until I got a chance to move to Pinnacle, and in slow but sure baby steps, I made it to the finish line. And that's Francis here in Brockport.
And this is the finish line right here.
This is the finish line.
Luther's transition to independent living is connected to a new approach being implemented by Lifetime Assistance. The goal to improve the transition process for those seeking independent living. Joining me in the studio to discuss this in more detail is student and social and digital media creator Luther St. Joy, Director of Residential Services and Supports for Lifetime Assistance Nancy Balleron, Housing Transition Coordinator with Lifetime Assistance Whitney McIntyre, and Assistant Director of the Institute of Innovative Transition at the University of Rochester Warner School, Mary Judge. And welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for being here. So in the 1960s and 70s, we had this movement to deinstitutionalize people with developmental disabilities. And I want to know, and Mary, I'm giving this to you first, what type of gains have been made since that time? And also if you can explain the complexities involved with the transition to independent living.
We've definitely made a lot of strides over the years, but we still have a lot of work to do. And so transitioning, any type of transition, whether it's from high school to adulthood, or specifically with housing, as in Luther's case, there's a lot to consider, and there's a lot that has to be thought about, but really focusing on the fact that it's about, for example, Luther, what Luther wanted, what Luther needed, and making sure that it's on his agenda and what he wanted to do, just like it is for any one of us when we moved out of our parents' home into a more independent setting.
Well, I know that Lifetime Assistance worked with the Institute of Innovative Transition at the U of R's Warner School, also the Council on Quality and Leadership, to really significantly improve this transition process. And I want to know, first of all, Nancy, how did this partnership form? I know it involved a 2-year pilot. Kind of explain the why of this.
Well, I think when the grant was originally written, the person that wrote the grant, or the people that wrote the grant, really looked at who could add to all the different aspects of it. And the Council on Quality and Leadership, we at Lifetime Assistance have now just been accredited a couple of years ago by the Council on Quality and Leadership. And part of what they really concentrate on is person-centeredness. And so that's where the process is. It's about person-centeredness. The Council on Quality and Leadership has a particular training that they trained Whitney and myself and several others to be interviewers for personal outcome measures interviews. And with that, and I can let Whitney talk a little bit more about that, but that was the basis of what we used for all the people that came through our process to determine what they really wanted.
So it was really to create a person-centered approach.
And that's the key. And then the U of R also assisted, and we had Jay help us with some of the social awareness part of it as well. But Whitney could talk a little bit about the Council on Quality and Leadership, because it's a very important process.
Yeah, yep. So we actually refer to them as the POMS interviews. And I hate calling them interviews. They're more of conversations, and that's where the POMS, the personal outcome measures, comes from. And it's just a conversation between myself and someone receiving our services. And we really get down deep to the person, like what are their hopes, their dreams, what do they want out of life? And it's something that we're so used to saying, are you happy, are you okay, instead of what would make you happy. So now we're taking a deeper look into their lives, and that's how Luther and I got started. And based on his personal outcome measure conversation between the two of us, we knew independence was something he was striving for, and we worked on it, and that's why we're here today. So,
and I would say that is probably one of the biggest steps since the 60s and 70s, is that we're really focusing on the person-centered planning portion. So not what we think Luther would need, but what Luther needs and wants.
Well, Luther, when I had an opportunity to talk with you, and we got to hear this in the video piece, one thing that you said to me, you explained the extensive moves that you've made throughout the past several years. And I want to know, why did you move so often, and how did that impact you?
So the reason why I move so often is because I was offered different housing, and I knew that if I didn't take the housing, I wouldn't get an offer like that again. So I actually, based upon my previous experience with different houses and different places, I actually took the first group home, and then I took 2 supervised apartments, and finally finding myself in a supportive apartment, and then finally here I am in Brockport, living on my own with a little bit of support here and there, but overall, I love it.
And one thing you said that I really like, you said this is the finish line. Did you have a vision of the finish line kind of through that process?
At first, I didn't know what to do. I did not know if there would be a finish line, but I knew that there was a light at the end of the tunnel, and before you know it, 2 years later, there was a finish line.
And I was just going to say, Luther received some services through our respite program, through our recreation program, before he started with us with housing and with a home, and came in when we first started this process, and he was one of the very first ones that we started the entire process with. And we so happened to have an available home for him that he said, yeah, this will be good to start with. And then as more opportunities came up, as we learned more about what he could do and what he wanted to do, that's why he went up and up and up in the level of independence. So it's been a great ride.
Well, let's talk about the cost factors associated with this. How are the Francis apartments, I guess, created by Lifetime Assistance in this partnership, how are they funded? Where do the funds come from?
Well, I'll let you talk about the funding.
So a lot of different parties went into this, from state level to the town themselves, and then our agency developed a corporation to go into, Lifetime Developmental Housing Corporation, so they were able to go in on that. So HCR, just a lot of different levels of funding, and having the town support. Lifetime, we were kind of founded in Brockport, so it's kind of like a coming home type of thing. So they're more than willing to welcome us with open arms in the town.
Well, I know this was a great fit for you, Luther, as you explained to us. For others who are eager to follow that process that Luther did take, what opportunities are available in terms of housing, very similar to the Francis Apartments? I've read that there is a waiting list that is quite extensive for an opportunity such as this.
So part of what we do, and there is through the state a certified residential opportunity protocol, and when a person wants to receive services, they go through our Office for People with Developmental Disabilities. They call there, New York State, they get fill out all the paperwork, their service coordinator helps them with that to receive services. If they qualify, different regions are notified of people that are looking for places to live. What we do is then take people that have contacted us, and we do what we call a discovery meeting, which Whitney is very good at, and really starts that process of discovering what a person wants and exposure to a whole bunch of different things that they might not know. Some people don't know what a group home is. Some people don't know that they can live in an apartment in the community. And so that's how a person gets into us. And then she takes it from there and says, let's meet and meet and meet. And some process have taken 2 years to get people into a place where they want to live, an apartment in the community, a Francis apartment in the community, supportive apartment through Lifetime Assistance, which is certified, and we follow rules from our state organization. So there's many, many options out there. It's based on what the person wants.
And Mary, I'll ask you this, is in terms of the transition in particular here, I'm talking about to independent living, independent housing, how is it determined if it is a good fit for somebody? Because I would have to imagine there are some who may say, I don't know, or their family members may say, I don't know if this would work for me or for our family member. How is that figured out?
Yes, it's a really big deal. So our role in the project was to develop a tool which was to cover every possible aspect we could think of when you move out of your parents' home or you're transitioning into your very first apartment, because it's no different than with anybody else. And so what we did was just literally brainstorm and sit down. Our director, Martha Mock, and I would sit and talk about, okay, what is it we need to know? And we put together a large packet, a tool that could be used electronically or hard copy that would cover pretty much anything that anyone would need, and also be a guideline for the staff and the person moving to kind of get an idea.
Well, Luther, it was right when we spent time with you. You kind of walked us through the work that you do with social media, the work that you do at digital media as well. We had a chance to see you at RCTV working on some projects. And I want to know, how has this move that you've made, this finish line move to Francis Apartments, how has that enabled you to really focus more on the things that you love to do, your digital media work?
Well, from my understanding, I really, since the finish line, have been involved in social media a lot more, and I've been trying my hardest to balance living at the same time. But on the same token, social media is definitely, a big thing of mine. And in fact, later this year, I'm going to have a meet and greet for the social media followers. And I'm going to have events for my 25th birthday and lots more to come. And most notably, I'm looking forward to the fact that I get to do more social media and more website editing and things that I love to do. And on top of that, I do want to make note that last year, I actually held, 2 years ago, I actually held my first birthday party via Facebook. A first event on Facebook. And then all my friends came to the Bill Grades in Henrietta. And then the second year, I actually, it was many years in the making, I held my very first major party at Hot Shots Volleyball. And it's going to happen again this year. I'm very excited.
Well, there's a lot you can teach me about social media stuff, because look at my Twitter page. I have a lot I can learn from you.
He has a lot of followers.
And so
a ton.
For Luther, for example, he's in this location, in this setting that he can now call home. When this process takes place, such as this, what support services are still in place to help him? Because you said you got a lot that you're juggling on your plate. What are those services that he can? Whitney?
Yeah, so he has myself as his housing transition coordinator to help. If he has any questions, we go over what he's signing on his lease, make sure he understands it, all of those. I kind of help with all of that transition. And then I do follow-ups for 6 months after. So every time he moved, I would keep following up with him. So this final home stretch move, I'll be following up once a month for 6 months just to make sure things are okay. But he can call me at any time. He also has his Medicaid service coordinator still in place that will help make sure that he's paying his bills and all of that, making sure he's getting the services. And then he has community habilitation support in his apartment, and those are staff that come and they work on things with him, getting to know the community, learning how to cook, things like that he wants to work on to be more independent. And so he's supported daily, and it goes on his schedule. So if he doesn't want somebody that day, he kind of wants to hang out and in his own apartment, do what he wants to do. The staff can come a different day, so we work around him. And when he wants to work on a goal or something, learn to cook, go to the bank, things like that.
And so he is staffing about 10 to 20 hours a week.
Yes.
Well, one thing you don't need help on is baking, because you offered chocolate chip cookies, and I was very grateful for those. So you're good on that front.
There you
so
go.
Thank you so much. Thank you for
You're
inviting us
welcome.
into your home, and thank you to all of my guests for being here today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
We have to
Thank you.
close for now, and again, a special thank you to my guests for weighing in on this very important topic. To learn more about the work of Lifetime Assistance and its services, including its community living opportunities, go to lifetimeassistance.org. Gravity-powered racing cars, helmets, and a lot of speed. While soapbox racing started in the 1930s, there's a pretty solid fan base among Rochester teens willing to ditch their smartphones, tablets, and video games to get outside for a little healthy competition. WXXI's Denise Young introduces us to these youngsters and explains why the real thrill of racing is the camaraderie built on the track.
Like most teenage boys, Johnny Berg loves music and electronics of all types. But every year, as summer nears, Johnny straps on a helmet and becomes a super kid. It's race day, and young competitors in the Greater Rochester Soapbox Derby are anxious to get in their cars and let gravity speed them down the hill on Lakeshore Boulevard.
I'm feeling very excited.
That's Tammy Berg. She and her husband John decided to get Johnny involved in the Derby Super Kids program in 2014.
And he became the champion and won one of the first trophies, the big trophies.
In the traditional Derby, kids build and drive their own cars. In the Super Kids program, young people with special needs are paired with other kids who drive the two-person cars. In both programs, winners in the timed races can qualify for the national competition in Akron, Ohio.
It's not a great experience for our kids, but it's a great experience for the other kids to know children that have special needs and realize there's nothing to be afraid of. They're just kids.
Turco found out about the program from a coworker.
I knew I had a son with special needs, and he just loved it. I mean, Nick is a great guy, but he hates things on his head, and this is how much I knew he really wanted to do it, because in order to race, you have to wear a bike helmet on your head. So I told him, I said, Nick, if you want to do this, you got to put the helmet on your head and get in the car, and he did. And that was all she wrote.
Every year he looks forward to going to race with the other kids and being out there in the public with typical kids. And with his friends too, because there are other kids with special needs that do participate.
So Johnny, how do you like the racing?
Awesome.
Tell us about going down the hill, what it's like.
Yeah, went down.
It means a lot to me to see him participate with all the other kids. And he does a great job, and he loves it. And we like cheering him on. So fills my heart, I just love him.
We all go to the race, usually in June, and we cheer him on. And for practice, my daughter actually drove my son, and it was a lot of fun. Right?
It's like a rush, but it's Like at first you're like, oh, this isn't too bad, but then it starts going fast and you're like, this is really fun.
Johnny and Brienne teamed up again on race day during Johnny's second trip down the hill, and they rode to victory. With that win and another one earlier in the day, Johnny qualified to once again compete in the national competition. John Berg said his family is trying to raise awareness of the program so even more super kids can enjoy the thrill of racing and the joy of camaraderie.
It's just a way to get them all together and have fun and just be out in the public, and it also brings up, it helps bring awareness to other people that there are kids out there with special needs who just want to be accepted and part of the group and part of a team. But so he looks forward to it every year. We do too, because it just brings everybody together.
And members of the Greater Rochester Soapbox Derby Super Kids program competed in the National Super Kids Classic Soapbox Derby this month. And to my guests, Mike Turco, director of Rochester Super Kids program, and his son Nick, team captain of the Super Kids Classic, a big congratulations is in order. So talk to us about the two big wins that took place in Akron, Ohio.
It was exciting. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be this year, but we were watching on YouTube, and we have two racers that ended up in the top 10 this year. Matter of fact, Johnny Berg, that you just saw, he got 8th place, and a new racer this year who was 1st place in our local race got 4th place, and he ended up on the actual stage with the trophy presentation. It was very exciting.
Well, I've heard that that soapbox racing can be a family affair. And as we were watching the video story, you said to me, you know, this year, this was the first time you got siblings involved, as we got to see with Johnny and his sister. Talk a little bit about that. What makes this such a great family-oriented type of activity?
Well, it really involves the whole family, because everybody has to pitch in. You need someone at the top of the hill, someone at the bottom of the hill. You know, everybody help get in the cars. It's just it is a family thing. And traditionally, the Super Kids has only been a once-a-year thing. They only race at the local race, but knowing how much the kids love it, I've been working with the director, Mark Scuderi, to have it at every rally race that the other kids race at. And so now all of our kids and families get to interact with all the regular Soapbox Derby families, and it's just phenomenal having all the interaction between the families.
Well, I want to know what types of skills, like Nick's been involved for quite some time. This is how you, as we learned in the story, got involved with soapbox racing. What type of skills is Nick taking away, are the young people that you're working with taking away beyond just simply the joy and the thrill of racing?
You know, the camaraderie, the working together, because everybody that's capable, we get involved in helping set up in the beginning, tearing everything down. And just learning how to be a team member, you know, which is sometimes difficult.
Well, I read in an interview where you said involvement with Super Kids and in the Soapbox Derby really opens doors to competition. You said for young people with disabilities who prefer to be involved in something other than traditional sports. Right. So I wanted to know how much emphasis is placed on the competition aspect, and do you think there's a healthy dosage? Like what can it do to benefit young people?
Oh, absolutely. You know, it's like any other sport. I mean, there's certain kids that are going to be serious about it and excel, and there's going to be kids that are just doing it for fun. So Nick is more of the fun variety. If you notice, he was sitting up straight, and in Akron he got known for waving to the crowd in the 6 years we went there. But to be aerodynamic and to be faster, you really need to keep your head down. And both Johnny Berg and Dylan, who won this year in Akron, know that, and they're very serious about it.
Mike, talk a little bit about the training and the preparation that goes into doing something like this. Nick's done it, you know, now team captain. I mean, what do you have to do to get into place as these two youngsters have done?
Well, the Super Kids is a little bit more relaxed than the traditional program. But again, all the things, the aerodynamic, keeping your head down, keeping still in the car. Every little movement you make in the car essentially slows it down. So that's basically the biggest thing with the Super Kids.
So you mentioned when we were speaking before the interview began, you said when this got started in the 1930s, the fan base for the Akron, Ohio event, I mean, you said 70,000 people, and now it's just kind of losing its appeal a little bit. Do you think that the fan base here, is it growing thanks to the local Derby and Super Kids?
Well, definitely, as well as the exposure. I mean, this nice show that you're putting on today, I think people just don't know about it.
So what do you think it will take to get more, in addition to exposure, to get more people involved? Because you talked about the benefits for Nick, for Johnny, for Ryan, and for others.
Sure. Well, the big thing we really need in Rochester is our own hill. Right now we go to different streets and close them down and we race there. If we had our own hill, then we'd be able to publicize it more. I mean, I have a limit to how many kids I can have go to a local race every year because, you know, we end up with over 100 kids total racing in the program, and it takes a long time. So, you know, if we had our own hill, we could grow the program even bigger. And I used to be in sales and marketing, so I would definitely spend the time to do that. But right now, I'm pretty low key about it because I only have room for just so many kids, you know.
Talk about for people who don't know and they're being introduced to this for the very first time as they meet you and Nick. What is the value of this, the value of Super Kids?
I think just offering kids that maybe don't otherwise get the opportunity to do competitive sports, maybe they can't for whatever reason, maybe their disability is, you know, doesn't allow them to or whatever. It gives them the opportunity to compete on their own level and to just have the thrill of racing. I mean, the smiles on your face tell it all. On their faces.
And when you saw Nick, because Nick, 6 years, right? 6 years going to the Akron competition.
Yeah, he's been in since 2006.
Okay.
At age 19, you can no longer go to Akron. So we went every year he was involved.
And what type of impact did you see it have on him?
Oh, it was even more huge there because usually there's around 70-something racers. So to be in the top 10 in 70-something racers is really cool. But, you know, just to be around all these families that have children with special needs that understand what your daily struggles are like. It's just so awesome, just the love that is felt in the whole program. So, you know, and all the kids, the co-pilots are all volunteers, and they are donating their time.
Right. Well, we are out of time for now, but a very special thank you to my guests. I appreciate you both being here. And you can learn more about the Greater Rochester Soapbox Derby and its Super Kids program. Just go to grsbd.com. And that wraps up this special Move to Include edition of Need to Know. Move to Include is a partnership between WXXI and the Golisano Foundation. Its mission is to encourage thoughtful discussion about issues of inclusion and the differently abled. To learn more, go to movetoinclude.org. And thank you for joining me. I will see you next week right here on WXXI TV.